It's just hard to talk about.
Ayo was my head of media. He's also my friend, my brother. We worked together.
I'll say Ayo is a brother, also a colleague, a business partner. Ayo is somebody that is very close to me, you know, somebody that looks out for me and my brand. That's who Ayo is to me.
I met him at a sports gathering, like a sports gathering. He was very nice, he was very friendly. We just we clicked, like we had almost same ideologies and we just clicked.
Well, I think just a few years ago we reconnected and it was still revolving around football. Yeah, so, and luckily again we're neighbors in Gwarimpa. So whenever we would come here, he would always come to my house. I'll pick him, then we would always come to this pitch.
I met Ayo at one of the SWA games. It was about basketball.
Yeah, we met on the football pitch. So we had a friend in common that's playing right now. So from then on, we just clicked, started talking football and bonded over it. We've been playing together at least once every week for the past 3-4 years.
That was the day before the incident, 7th of April. Yeah, but I told him I was going to come tomorrow and he responded, "Oh, nice, very nice." And after that exchange, he reminded me about the time. I remember him telling me how disciplined they are with the time too. So yeah, that was one of our last exchange online, because after that we met on the pitch 8th of April.
So Ayo happens to be my namesake, and I'd been following him for a while. I can't really remember how long, but I knew his page, and one thing that struck me to the page was the fact that I saw that he promotes sports, and not just sports, grassroots sports in Nigeria. So sometimes I just see his stories and I click on his page and check again.
When I met him, he was talking about, how to promote indigenous, sport, how we can take the sportsmanship and market it, sell it, make it a brand, an international brand. That's all you could talk about. And once you see somebody that your dream aligns with theirs, it's always easy to connect.
He was very, 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 very hardworking. Never complained, never heard of any complaint from his mouth, ever, ever.
He was just very easy to work with because he hardly ever complained about anything he gave him to do. He was very reliable. I think that's the word. He was very reliable.
We had plans to work on his 30th birthday this year, and the plan was, Nestor, you're going to style me for my 30th birthday.
Yeah, I was a hard worker. He was very diligent, always willing to help. He was very nice, basically. I will call you to help you with your own show, even when it's not his show, to give you ideas, give you topics to discuss, give you possible banters.
Up until his last day, we were talking about work. That entire day till afternoon, late in the afternoon, but till his last day we were chatting back and forth, talking about work. In fact, his last message to me was on it, like I'm on it.
Okay, so what stands out for me are two things. So firstly is the amount of ground he's able to cover. It's almost like he has 10 million people working for him, but he covers European football, covers local football, both club and country for different age groups. It's quite something. Then the second thing that stands out is he has this dedication to being credible. So from his interviews, he asks good questions, which surprisingly is a rare trait.
If you go to Ayo's Instagram page or his Twitter, quite different. You could stay there all day because you'll be captured and you want to look at what this poster is saying or what this speaker is saying. You want to listen to him. And while he used to give his analysis, he had this friendly way of analyzing stories or sports. Like, he would always bring it back to reality, always analyze in a different way. So I was just different. Sometimes you won't ask him, why are you taking it from this angle? Be like, I don't want to follow the trend.
Ayo was relentless with everything he did, man. Like, he was so unapologetic, he was so intense and aggressive. He worked very hard. I know people say that about people, but you have to really understand. But he showed up every single time. It didn't matter what it was. It was a meeting, it was whatever. He just showed up. He was relentless with his dedication to his work, with his vision for sports in Nigeria, with his commitments to journalism, with where he wanted to even take himself. He had big dreams. He consistently multitasked. He juggled many things.
Ayo likes to connect people. He's very good at it. If you are doing something that is sports related, believe me, Ayo will talk about you wherever he goes. Whatever the opportunity he gets to talk about your brand or to sell your brand, or he sees people looking for something that you do, he will not hesitate to share your brand with that person. He will not hesitate to share your contact. He will also do something that he will always call you first, tell you what it's about before he actually goes ahead to talk about it. So he keeps you in the loop of communication. That makes him special to me.
Very passionate, I would say. Ayo was I'm sure if you were here, you would hear him screaming if he's on the pitch. He would always demand for you to pass the ball, for you to do something extra. But very, very passionate. Everybody that knew him, especially, you always know that he would give everything, his 100%.
He operated on a global standard, and yet he had, let me call it, grassroots motivation, because Ayo had genuine interest in the sports in Nigeria, and not just football, other sports, but yeah, specifically football. He did his part as much as I know. Maybe after football sessions we are going home, he's on the call with somebody talking about work. You understand? Every time, for every minute. It was not something that he did because he was just doing it. He was doing it because he loved doing what he was doing. He always brought that extra. The extra I mean is that his attention to detail, his passion for being accurate with the information he gave.
It's so funny that it's only on his birthdays we get to talk. Otherwise, it's just on Instagram. He comments on my post, or I comment on his post, or he sends me something to my DM, something funny to my DM. I respond to it. That's the only period where Ayo and I got to talk. We had a relationship. We had a relationship, but even beyond the relationship, he had an impact on me already.
Ayo's storytelling, he had been doing it since, but I think this year during the AFCON, that's when he really started putting out his work. If you go to his Instagram page, you see that about half of what he posted started from January, because that's when he went to the AFCON. Posted, did a lot of reports, and his Instagram page actually started getting a lot of followers because he started getting, I think, traction and even deals from people who went to work with him because of what they saw him doing. So he just had a lot to offer.
I really appreciated his work because his standard was comparable to anything you can see anywhere in the world.
Ayo was also very young. He was only 29, and his peers were not doing what he was doing. It's very difficult to find 29-year-olds that are able to juggle family time, work life, social life, football, all the extracurriculars that he was dedicating his time to, he just showed up everywhere and for everybody all the time. Okay, so Ayo sweats a lot. Ayo sweats a lot. I'm always laughing about it. It's the funniest thing. We can be in a room with AC blasting. Ayo is the only one sweating. So there was one time that I was going on the weekend show and he was putting powder on his face to like make sure he doesn't sweat during the segment. And I caught him on video doing that. And we cracked up about it. It was the funniest thing ever. I think I even shared the video on his birthday, one of his birthdays. That was a very funny memory for me because we just laughed about it. And I was always laughing. It's actually very hard to find him not laughing.
I like to mock Ayo when he does all this Monday night football. I like to tease him. My messages are to him like, oh God, waiting you. So on that fateful day, I'm Muslim, I fast, so I came into the pitch, I saw him, he had his tripod on the pitch, and I was just laughing like, I don't start again.
Yes, we had a situation here the other day, I think it was last month or 2 months ago, so I think something happened, ball was scored against my set, and I think my player fouled someone else. I saw it, and Ayo was shouting penalty, penalty, penalty at me. I did not say anything, even though I saw what happened. Oh, I think I was the one that even made the tackle that caused the penalty. I think I was the one. So as soon as that happened, they didn't ask me, so I kept quiet, but I didn't lie, so I just kept quiet. It was now after that the game started that I now told him that it was actually a penalty, and he was now angry at me that why didn't I say it since? That if I don't say it then I should not say it again, I should just keep it to myself.
I can't remember Ayo frowning. The only memory I have of him is him smiling. I remember his smile clearly. It's in my head, it's etched in my memory.
On the pitch, it was the last match we played before he passed. So it was, I think, against a football team called Mona Lisa FC. He scored 2 that day, and the second one he scored, he lobbed the keeper. It was a good moment.
Ayo is the first time I met him because we didn't meet very often. So I can always go back to the first time I met him because immediately he struck me as a very dedicated person, someone who knew exactly what he wanted to do and was not just about the talk, it was about the work. He was hands-on, he brought value, results.
Well, basically, in Nigeria, I know that Ayo really liked Shino Okeleji. Shino works with BBC. Okeleji is someone who writes very well, so I was getting close to him. Then Ayo also liked watching Sema Hunter in La Liga because she was very good with her facts and everything. So he used to watch her to analyze the way she does. Well, basically, myself and Ayo really became friends because we are both Messi fans. So I remember in 2021, during the Copa America final, it was at about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. they were playing the match. So obviously a lot of Nigerians were asleep, but myself and Ayo were awake. He was in his house and I was in my house. So he kept on calling me throughout every game. Like when he scored the goal, he called me. And towards the end, he kept on calling me like we should hang on because Messi is going to win his first trophy. I can remember that day very well, July 2021, and the World Cup final as well.
But all I would hold on to regarding Ayo is the fact that everything we did, there was always something funny. There was always something in the moments that would just lighten up the room. No matter how much stress we were all under, he would be able to lighten up the room with something funny and everybody would just start laughing. So yeah, I think those are the fondest memories I'll always remember, is that the smallest things would just make us crack up.
What I'll miss most about Ayo, it might sound selfish, but Ayo was very helpful to me. Really very helpful. He used to come on my show every Sunday. in the past 2 years. And there's a lot of things I can say about Ayo. Ayo was just like a different kind of guy. He was a gentleman. The first good impression I had of Ayo was, I think we were going out and Ayo opened the door for me, and I told him that there's no Nigerian guy that has ever opened the door for me before. Like, where did you learn that from? And that's just how he was. He was just a very nice guy. Like, totally, he was a very nice person.
Ayo was at the verge of operating as an independent, like as Ayo Adams, as an independent sports journalist. He was about to be his own person, take off finally. He has been an anchor at Weekend Show for a while, and for a long time he kept trying to find opportunities to kind of be his own guy, right? Like find his own footing. On the side, Ayo was a designer. He did a lot of graphic design, did a lot of projects for so many people, even for us here at SWE Sports. We were discussing, so he was very clear about his goals, very clear in the last few weeks. He always said it. He said that he wanted to write more articles. He wanted the articles to have his name attached to it because he wanted to stand out. When he was in AFCON, when he traveled for AFCON, he had a lot of conversations with a lot of international journalists that opened up his mind to some ideas. He also got some advice. So he came back and he shared some of the stuff that he wanted to do and said, he'd been advised to put himself out there more, and he can do that through articles, local and international. He can do that by traveling and attending more international events. For SWE Sports, he wanted to take on more as Ayo Adams. He wanted his name to be out there. And knowing that, of course, the other members of my team probably know more because they spent more time with him, but knowing that now and knowing the person that he was, we are thinking of whatever way we can do that, because Ayo should be known. Ayo was an incredible individual that just, he was really young, and people need to know who he was and what he stood for.
Well, I know Ayo wanted to go to these Olympics, the upcoming Olympics. He was very excited about the Olympics. I was already talking about the accreditations, and like, he was just ready. He wanted to see Shelly Ann Fraser-Pryce of Jamaica. She's running her last race at this Olympics, so he was really excited. He went to take pictures of her, went to do interviews, and he was also particular about working with some Super Falcon players. I know for a fact there's one particular Super Falcon player he was in communication with. He was meant to start managing her social media page, and he even had a fan page for her and everything. He had a lot of work he was doing, even with the MPFL. He was managing the MPFL on the 15 youth game. So they were going to contact him again because I got a call to let him know. So yeah, he was working with MPFL, and then SWA they had just concluded Sport as a Business conference. I was very excited about that. When I was at my house, he was talking about getting a new suit for the conference, like a night before he passed. He had a lot of things going on. Like I said, in the last few months, he did a lot of work, and he had a lot of people willing to work with him, a lot of people willing to sponsor him for different tournaments. Like, his life was just kicking off, basically, this year.
So not even up till the moment that he passed away, may God rest his soul, we're still on a lot of things that we could do together. So many things he wanted to do, so many dreams he had, so many ideas he has for grassroots sports development. So I think he's special. He's somebody that is very passionate. He looks inward first before he looks outward.
But I think my greatest happiness is that he was able to achieve some of the things he planned to do this year. Because he wanted to go for the AFCON, and he was able to go for the AFCON. So, that's it.
8th of April. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . It was a very, I don't have a single word to quantify what that day meant in the entirety of everything that happened.
So on that fateful day, I'm Muslim, I fast, so I came into the pitch, I saw him, he had his tripod on the pitch, and I was just laughing like, I don't start again. So I was waiting for someone, and the next thing I had, a friend of mine, which is Kamal, the owner of Top Arena, told me that Ayo slumped. He has been rushed to the hospital.
That was the one day that I didn't go because I had an engagement. Then I think I was still planning on coming, although still I was just about to make up my mind when the call came that he had slumped.
Ayo was on the pitch.
Ayo was like right in front of me.
You know, his set was playing.
I think his set had just scored.
There was an argument. I don't know what the argument was about.
His set had just scored. In fact, before his set scored, he missed a goal. He was so angry about it that he ran all the way from that post to this post to defend it. Then his team now went on the counter and scored.
So the play was not even going on at the time. You know, he had this bandage on because he said he had a cut on his hand. What I remember about that particular moment was I wasn't looking.
So it was in the process of him rushing back to restart the game. I was talking to somebody, he was standing right in front of me. I just looked to the person to say something. The next thing I heard, a ruckus, and I looked to my front and
then everybody was shouting.
He was like collapsed on the ground.
He was surrounded basically, and then wow, I was on the ground. You know, I couldn't get a clear view if he was shaking or...
Initially it looked like a seizure because he was really shaking. His eyes were open and all that.
But he fell on his own. And at that point, everybody was just shouting, give him space, give him space.
The initial urge was to rush towards him, but there were already like 3-4 people towards him. And my own education around these situations is not to crowd the person.
No one really knew what to do. Nobody knew what response was appropriate.
People tried to make him as comfortable as possible.
Well, we took another close to 5 minutes trying to stabilize him. Someone was trying to fan him. Another person was trying to, you know, get a hold of his mouth.
Trying to stop him from gnashing his teeth or something like that.
There was someone who was trying to reach out to a health personnel on video call, trying to show him and see what response was you know, going to be helpful at that time. We decided to rush him to the nearest hospital.
Because it seemed like he was stabilizing.
And even from seeing Ayo at that point, the expression on the doctor's face was not encouraging.
Even from the demeanor of the first person that came, it wasn't looking really good.
For me at that moment, it's always a belief I always had that, no, every situation, the best of it is the outcome that we will get, you know.
But we implored her to try something, so she started on CPR. May person play for me? Sorry. So they started on CPR, but
she didn't even say anything. She just raised her head and just nodded that we lost him.
They called another doctor, a male doctor this time. He came himself, he tried CPR, but both of them declared him dead.
None of us knew how to feel. None of us knew how to behave or how to react. I think we were close to 10 of us. We came in different vehicles. We were close to 10 of us who accompanied him to the hospital at that point. And it was just silence. Some people were obviously crying already. at what we just seen.
I couldn't actually believe that like this guy was gone, because if you see the energy that he played that last play,
The game had ended for the day.
I still can't believe it. I can see it in my head. You know, I was just saying, is this Ayo? Like, the guy that I know, the cheerful guy, the guy that will not stop talking about something when he's passionate about it, you know. You can't stop him. You have something to say. Is this Ayo? He was lifeless.
But, I mean, for myself, it's somewhere at the back of my mind. What is it we could have done better?
Basic things like CPR could save your life before the professional help comes.
So I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we just have to do something. Probably learn how to give CPR, put in measures, sports facilities all around Abuja should be aware. We should create that awareness. If they can have a small, you know, clinic or sports department, health department that can always quickly be called. Even volunteers, doctors, hospitals.
You can't just be bringing people to play football, to play this, to do that at your sporting center, and there is no first aid. Like, there's no first aid.
the lesson is basically, as sad as it is that he died from a religious perspective. He died during Ramadan while he was fasting, and from a lively perspective, he died doing what he loved the most, and he achieved a lot of milestones in his life.
I think I would like Ayo to be remembered as a very good person, a person who was unapologetically himself. Ayo was very forgiving. Ayo was hardly ever angry. Hardly ever angry. And he was very quick to apologize, even when he wasn't wrong. Like when he had an argument, Ayo would be the first to apologize, even when he wasn't wrong. He was very diligent. He wanted the growth of sports, especially grassroots sports in Nigeria. He was engaged in different football tournaments, different grassroots tournaments. Ayo was a great writer. He was a great writer, and he was someone always willing to help. I'll give you a short story. When we were at the AFCON, there was a guy who came from UK, and we are at the media center. So everyone was there. Me, obviously, I sat at some point, myself and Ayo, and he saw a guy, a white guy. The guy was sitting alone, looking lost. So he walked up to the guy and asked the guy, "What's up? Like, what are you doing?" And the guy was like, "He just came in a night before, blah blah blah, all these talks." So Ayo took the guy to get his scene, to the guy to the hotel, did everything for the guy. Mind you, the guy was sponsored, obviously. He works with the company, and Ayo came on his own. So it's like he's in a different man's land, and he could have said to not even walk up to the guy. But all through the tournament, they became very close. When the guy heard of his passing, the guy could not believe it, because he was like, he's never seen a guy like Ayo before, someone that could just help you without having any motive. That's how Ayo was.
I think we shouldn't just keep quiet and let his dreams, you know, die with him. We should all keep working, you know, towards same goals. We need to work together as Nigerians to promote sports. That's Ayo's passion. Above everything, when he wanted to go for CAF Nations Cup, he spoke to me about it, told me how one of his ideas is to follow the Super Eagles, document their process, you know, tell a story about the players, what they do, that's behind the scene, not just the football. What people see most is these guys playing football, but there's more to these guys than just them coming to the pitch and playing football. And I saw that when he actually went for CAF. He did an immense job, and I'm so fucking proud of him. I just pray that wherever he is, God will forgive his soul and grant him paradise.
Big lesson for me, big lesson, that yeah, we did have a project in view. It was a few days away, but sometimes just an extra good word wouldn't hurt. Sometimes just ask how people are doing. Sometimes send them food. Sometimes just, so that was the biggest lesson for me, and I'm definitely going to make some changes moving forward because of it.
To Ayo as a person, it just made me remember that our time is very limited. So you should do the things that you really love doing. And every memory of Ayo that I have, it's still centered around doing the things that he loved to do.
Ayo. Remember Ayo as consistent. Remember Ayo as persistent. Remember Ayo as friendly. Remember Ayo as a brother. Remember Ayo as a friend. Remember him as a son that was loved by his mom. And most of all, remember Ayo as the guy who always had a smile on his face, no matter what.
And that is the reason why I'm doing this video. When you hear what everybody in this video has to say about him, I hope you go and check him out and just know that someone who was just at the verge of actualizing a particular goal he set for himself is gone.
R.I.P. Ayo Adams.
May he find the rest he deserves.